is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me.
This is the Board Ghost Rules Primer for Star-Crossed, designed by Alex Roberts and published by Bully Pulpit Games, recently released on retail after a successful Kickstarter. This is a relationship exploration game where you have two characters who are drawn together by their longing for one another, but they are pulled apart by the external forces of their world. So there's a tension to their love. The game is for 2 players and takes a couple hours to play. To play, you'll need the rulebook, character sheets, writing utensils, plus a tumbling block tower like a Jenga tower. And you'll need the scene cards that are provided in the game. In setup as players, you come up with the situation, time period, whether it's fantastic, futuristic, historical, modern. It's all fair game, and you'll use this situation you come up with vaguely to answer a couple questions. One, what has brought these two people together, these two things, these two beings together? Also, like, what has forced them, what in your situation has forced them to share a space and confront their attraction to one another? Beyond that, the next question you answer is, what is keeping them apart? What responsibilities or pressures keep them from acting on their attraction? So then you get into the game. And a little note about this is a personal game, very intimate. And Alex has good thoughts on safe communication and collaboration, including using tools like the X card in her instruction booklet for the game. One player takes on the role of the lead, and the other takes on the role of the follow. The lead takes first turn in a scene. Follow decides when a scene is over. Lead tends to act intentionally, and their moves will denote that. And the follow character tends to act unintentionally, and their moves denote that. Interpreting intentionally and unintentionally is up to you as players and what you feel is right. So the next thing you're going to do is make characters answering the questions on the character sheets, right? So there's a series of questions for the lead and a series of questions for the follow. And you actually help answer some questions for each other. Next thing you're going to play, right? First, you build your tower. Take the 54 brick wooden stacking tower, rows of 3 alternating as in a classic game of Jenga or any tumbling block game. Make sure the tower is between both players but not obstructing your field of view. You're then going to part of setup, take turns each pulling a total of 3 bricks each. So you'll have pulled 6 bricks before you start playing from the tower and putting them on top as a normal pull. One hand, explore as you want, no shuffling, etc. So you're going to put tiles on top of the tower to kind of get it initially a little shaky. Then you're going to move on to your scenes. There are 8 in the game with scene prompts from the cards provided. These are gentle little prompts that you can again interpret as you both see fit. All scenes are set with your characters together. So it's the 2 of you. You describe where you are, what you're doing, and what is happening around you. The lead begins the scene with the first move, and you take turns describing your character's actions through moves until the follow calls an end to the scene. In scenes, there are a number of moves described on your character sheet that you can use to do the following. Describe your character's movements, describe a detail in the environment around the characters, pull a brick from the tower to describe a physical contact. The lead can do this contact once per scene intentionally, and once per game, they can do it unintentionally. The follow is the reverse. They can do this once per scene unintentionally, once per game intentionally. Pulling a brick from the tower to reveal something personal is another thing you can do. Same rules about intentionality apply with the others. Lead tends to be intentional with 1 unintentional move per game, and follow wants to do once per scene unintentional with 1 per game intentional of revealing something personal. So when you do these moves with the bricks, when you do a move that requires pulling, you note that by filling in a star next to the relevant move on the character sheet. That lets you know that you've made this move in the game if it's a one-time thing, or you've made it in a number of scenes up to this point. You're free to speak out of character as much as you like, to offer suggestions, talk about the game, but for character dialogue, your characters can only speak on their turn. And when you speak as your character, you must be touching the tower while your character speaks. And to make it a little extra difficult, you can't touch the surface that the tower is resting on. So you really have to be in tune with the shaky tower that is between you two, that represents your relationship. The ending comes when the tower falls or you've played 8 scenes. If it still stands, you tell your epilogue together, you ignore your attraction stars, and you ignore the epilogue chart. The conclusion, if it still stands after 8 scenes, is that your characters will never act on their feelings. They go their separate ways. If your tower falls, you take note of who is touching it last. That player's character is the one to act on their true feelings. You describe that out as intimately or suggestively as you want, and then you add up your total filled-in stars and consult the epilogue chart and use that result as an inspiration, just like you did with the scene card prompts, to come up with a mutual conclusion for that story. This is a beautiful game, component-wise and in execution. Alex Roberts did an amazing job designing it and putting it together with Bully Pulpit Games. The illustrations are fantastic. The work in terms of mechanics is evocative. Everything about this game sings. We don't often play 2-player games on Board Ghosts, but this is one that just really works and we want to keep it in our rotation of games. So this was our rules primer for Star-Crossed, designed by Alex Roberts, published by Bully Pulpit Games. Go listen to our How to Play, and you can buy this game online or at your friendly local game store. We'll have links in the show notes and on the website at boardghost.com. Thank you.
Dying, don't agree with me.